It's always a lot of fun talking about the exciting new gear or the amazing places that we go to, or talking about the amazing experiences that we have when we're out on a backpacking trip. But let's be real, backpacking trips are not all sunshine and rainbows. There are things about backpacking trips that absolutely suck. And today we're going to talk about some of the absolute worst things about backpacking. You're noticing a little bit of, nasty raspiness in the voice, just at the tail end of a cold, so just bear with me on this one. Very first thing we are going to talk about is one that is very, very common, and I'm sure it has affected a bunch of you. It has affected me in the past, and that is forgetting gear at home. It's one of those things that's bound to happen. You can be the most meticulous planner and have everything down on a spreadsheet, and I can almost guarantee at some point everybody is inevitably just going to forget something. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but for myself and the circle of people that I hike with, the two most common things that have been forgotten on backpacking trips have been sporks, or some kind of eating utensil, and tent stakes. Two not super essential pieces of gear. Another very common one, and not so much forgotten on a backpacking trip because people do bring it, but not bringing enough of it, not realizing how much fuel is actually in your fuel can, and just bringing a fuel can that's only got, say, 1 or 2 boils left in it for like a 4 or 5 day backpacking trip. This next one goes hand in hand with forgetting your gear at home, and that's getting all of your gear successfully out with you on trail, but having a piece of gear fail or break, or even misplacing a piece of gear. Every piece of gear, no matter how well it's constructed, every piece of gear has a fail point. It doesn't matter how much you spent on that gear is still just as important to the success of your backpacking trip. So just making sure that we take care of our gear out there on trail. Not every animal encounter is going to be a negative experience. Say you're hiking through a meadow and you look across, you see a moose coming through, just something super huge and majestic and awesome and epic to see, or that stuff is super cool. When we're talking negative animal encounters, we're talking like a run-in with a bear on trail, or having, rodents or something get into your food bag and, just destroy your food. Or, I've seen people have rodents chew holes through their tent and holes through their sleeping bags. There's a lot of really easy preventative things you can do out on trail to help mitigate negative animal encounters. Things like making a lot of noise, just generally talking when you're out on trail. Storing your food and scented items away from your shelter at night is a great way to help mitigate the risk of a negative animal encounter. No matter how prepared and careful you are, there's always a potential for a negative wild animal encounter out on trail, which is why it's always a great idea to have a last line of defense, like a can of bear spray with you. Like I previously mentioned, making a ton of noise, being loud and talking out on trail is a great deterrent, and just a great way to let animals like bears know that you are in the area. Especially hiking along rivers and close to water sources, rushing water makes a ton of noise, and sometimes no matter how loud you yell, it's not going to be louder than the river or the creek, whatever is next to you. So having bear spray just in case. Another big one besides animals is Mother Nature herself, and that is the weather. Cold and rainy weather seem to be the ones that people worry about the most, but the extreme heat can be even worse than the cold, rainy days. You get a day that's, like up over 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know the conversion to Fahrenheit, but I'll pop it on the screen for you guys. You find yourself hiking out in a hot day like that with limited water sources, you can be in for a really bad situation. Now, sure, there's things we can bring, like a rain jacket or sunscreen and a hat and, a sun shirt. Little things that we can carry along to kind of help, make those crappy situations a little bit less crappy. But let's be 100% honest, there's nothing fun or enjoyable hiking in a cold, rainy day. The temperature is like just above freezing. You got this like cold, hard, stinging rain coming down at you. You get the ice pellets and the freezing rain stuff going on. There's 0% enjoyment in a day like that, and that is definitely one of the worst parts about backpacking. But hands down, the single worst thing about backpacking is not being able to go on a backpacking trip when you really need to go on a backpacking trip. I use backpacking as sort of my mental reset from the world and, just all the hustle and bustle and just everything overwhelming in my day-to-day life. To me, backpacking is kind of my escape from that, and I always come back just completely refreshed, and, it's like I said, it's my mental reset. And there's absolutely nothing worse than, feeling that, overwhelming grip of everything in, day-to-day life, and just knowing that, like, the one thing that would set you straight is, a couple nights out in the bush hiking along somewhere, and just, life just doesn't allow you to have that. To me, that's absolutely hands down the worst thing about backpacking is needing it and not being able to get it. Hopefully this video has not deterred you from getting into backpacking if you're kind of looking at getting into it. There's way more things that are good about backpacking than the couple, you know, terrible things about it that I just talked about in this video here. And if you want to know some awesome things about backpacking, check out some videos in this playlist here. I'm sure you will find something you'll enjoy. And as always, I'm Matty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.